My name's Craig Stauner. I'm the driver of Abago 91 race boat. It's an Evercraft 18'6". It now has a twin turbo big block shed motor in it. We've just stepped up to the Unlimited class, and this will be our second major race meeting in Unlimited.
Where are you from?
We are from Penrith in New South Wales.
How long have you been racing?
We've been racing circuit race boats for approximately 5 years now.
What type of hull is the boat?
This boat is an 18'6" Evercraft. This is probably our third boat. This is our third boat we've owned. The first boat we had was a flat bottom Sanger, which was my father's boat. Then we went into, that was in 105. Then we went up to a Ramsey boat, which was the orange boat, when we went into starting to be competitive in circuit racing because we were losing too much speed with the flat bottoms around the corner. Then we did 105 for a while. Had a pretty bad accident going down one of the back straights before the Nationals for 105. Got spouted out of the boat of that. Didn't race for about 3 or 4 months. I was going pretty crazy at home. The wife said to get a new boat because I was driving her up the wall. The only condition was, after the accident, obviously we had to go into a sailboat. So then we purchased this boat off Scotty Patterson from down in Victoria, which back then was a yellow boat. Then we run that for a while as 105 for probably one race. That's another story. Then we went to 6-litre, bought a 6-litre motor, put that in this. We run that for approximately 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And then we just thought we want to go a bit quicker again. So then we pulled the trigger probably a year ago at Taree to build a big block twin turbo. And a year later, the motor's in the boat. So now we're running Unlimited, and it's been good so far.
What type of motor are you running, mate?
So this is a big block twin turbo shed motor. So far so good. It's when I first drove it, I think I didn't really have to change my underpants. It was a very quick thing, and it's a very different boat to drive compared to 6-litre. 6-litre, you're very quick on pedals. You flat out or full cab plate. You jam and pedals. With this thing, it's a very different concept to drive this boat now. You got to feed things. Everything's more caressing and slowly bits and pieces. But we had our first hit out a couple of weeks ago at Yarrawonga, and for its first outing, I think it did very well. It seems to show pace, and it's only just the start of the setup, so it was very tame, nothing too crazy yet, and it's showing good potential.
How many times have you been to Adelaide?
This will be my second time. I went last year as a 6-litre in this boat, but it was yellow. A lot's changed. We went pretty well there. I think we made the final of the Dawn Cup, I think it was. Well, the only inboard in the race. It was all outboard, so I didn't have much chance against F1 boats. But hopefully this year we'll be different because we definitely got the power, and now it's just all about me to drive it. So.
Are you travelling with another team down to Adelaide, and roughly a time to the destination?
Another team. Well, that could be interesting. Well, Quinny should be coming. I'm hoping he comes.
Quinny's our number one crew guy.
He's been sniffing around here a bit lately because I honestly think he's going to end up blocking these 2 hair dryers on. You probably seen a bit of him doing his hair the other day. I think he secretly likes this package, and obviously this is his baby boat. But Quinny might come down. I hope he does. But if he doesn't, he'll probably come down and give us a hand to crew. The boys will be leaving on the Wednesday to bring the boat down, and then we'll try and head down either Thursday night or Friday morning, depending on work.
Who is your idol and most feared out on the racetrack?
My idol would be, I'd have to say, back in the day when I was obviously younger, when I used to watch circuit racing, I used to like the likes of Troy Marlin. He was always a big showstopper. Crossy obviously was a very good one, and I've always looked up to them. They're very competitive, so to race like them would be a massive achievement. And then I remember the first time I raced down at it was the Kavanagh. It was actually that race meeting. It was the first time I raced Troy, and he was in sick puppy, and to go up against him, it just brought a lot of memories back from my go-karting days when you go to the Nationals and then big race means your mind just goes, oh, I'm up against this person, that person, so you have to go through the process of It's just another number, it's another person. Just keep your game plan right and then do your own thing and you'll be okay. And that before that race meeting, we're actually running around 5 minutes before the race started looking for a fuel pump, so we nearly didn't make the race, and then we went out with no testing and we ended up winning the Kona. So that was a pretty big achievement, I think, for us as a team, considering we're so new to the sport.
Yeah, and like Brett from B&R organised that pump,
mate,
and got it Ubered to
we
Melbourne.
we got it Ubered, and Brett from B&R were ringing him, and he was backwards and forwards. They couldn't find where we dropped off, and Brett's on the phone. I'm on the phone. We're up to the front. It was a big ordeal. Jumped in the boat. We put the pump in, and literally jumped in the boat. Went down. And I was huffing and puffing, and went out for the race, and actually won the first heat. And the second heat, I thought my radio man called red boat, but I heard red, so I thought it was a red flag. So I actually stopped the race, and then I asked him, was it red flag? And he goes, no, red boat, which was Reuters, had stopped on the corner. And I'm like, yeah, rightio. I won't say what I said on the camera, what I said on the radio, but I said a few quiet words. I'm like, okay, then got on with it. And luckily enough, I kept the gap between me and Troy closer than the first race that I had on Troy. But to race against them sort of people and then to beat them is just, it's hard to explain, because you don't ever think you're going to race against them sort of people, let alone beat them. So.
Who fears you out on the track?
Hopefully everyone.
No, to be honest with you, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but from racing karts, and I've always had a petrol head inside of me, but I don't really fear anyone on the track, because to me they're just another number.
No, hang on. He wasn't talking about that. He was saying, who do you fear?
I don't fear people though.
Yeah, that's right. So start again. Ask that question again.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I don't fear anyone on the track, so
was it who do you think fears you, or who do you fear?
Who do I fear?
Who is your most feared on the racetrack for the weekend?
Yeah, so I don't fear people. If I'm out there racing, I'm not scared of anyone. Obviously, you want the best competition there to win. Like, I don't want to win if 5 people turn up and then 3 boats don't finish. You want to win with the best fields, everyone finishing, and the boating community is really good. Like, I know since I've been racing, there's been everyone helps everyone out throughout the between races. Then when you come to racing, it's obviously we sort our stuff out at the track once you put your helmet on, but in the pits, everyone helps you learn to bolt, a screw, a washer, a log gland or whatever. So everyone tries to help everyone get on the water, which I love. But then we just sort it out on the track, which is good, and then we all come back and have a beer.
Do you want to say thank you to anyone, and in particular?
Oh, well, obviously I've got to thank my wife, my kids, firstly, to let me do this. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into these things to get us on the water and be competitive, to be safe, and finish races and be reliable. So there's a lot of hours that we spend in this shed, not with our families. So there's a big credit to the wife and the kids, because they're my number one supporters with this. So without them, obviously I couldn't do it, and it's great when they do come to the races to watch it, and they're always there and they help me out. So you can't go past that. Then obviously we've got Dale, which is here. He's done all my wiring. He's done all my tuning. He's been there since day dot. But this one over here, it took me probably 3 years to crack it. But now it's everything's always been good. But obviously he's had a lot of people that just probably ask a million and one questions, but don't pay for their way. So I get that. But it probably took me 2 years to crack him, 3 years. Now it's all good. But yeah, so Dale's been there from the start. I've got Jenkins now doing the motors. He's put this package together, which was Dale's idea. So the motor side is their motor, so to speak. So whatever they want to do, they've done between themselves. I just drive it. They've got Plasma Man, which has done the inlet manifold. He's done all the covers, all the intercoolers down here. We've got 2 intercoolers down the bottom, down this part here. So he's been heavily involved. We've got Haltech, they've been with us from the start with the ECUs, all the sensors and stuff, and I can't fault them. I reckon their system has probably saved me 3 times or 4 times in 105, probably the same in 6 litre, and it's probably saved me already twice in this thing, and we've only taken it out twice. So it's better to lose a sensor or a safety mode and you go to the next race rather than something let go and then you don't race for 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is and you've got no medal left. So they've been amazing. I can't fault them. You've got Coldy. He's helped out with a lot of things with the package and the setup and just with information bits and pieces he's given us. So he's been there. He's helping us out a lot as well. We've got, who else is on there that's been helping us? I won't mention CMS because that's me. But,
you got to mention yourself. Who's paying the bills?
Yeah, we pay the bills, but it's just a good sport. It's good to go to every other club. We try and do the right thing and go to every other venue because I can't expect we're involved with that for Hawkesbury. I'm involved in the committee there, but you can't expect people to come to your club if you don't go to their club. So we try and do the right thing as hard as it is to get to places like South Australia. Is a long trip for us. Obviously losing work, so obviously if we're not at work, we're not making money to be able to pay for this stuff. But if it wasn't for the guys that help us with bits and pieces to get the boat together, it wouldn't be possible. So it's without the team, I wouldn't be able to do this. Like all the work is done here. These are parts when you come to the track and race. That's the fun part. But the amount of hours up in this shed to turn up to a race meeting, I wouldn't want to put hours in there.
It's a huge amount of hours.
That's a lot.
People think this stuff just sort of falls together, and it doesn't. Like since Yarrawonga, we sort of overestimated how much fuel it would use. So we've had the fuel tank out. People will probably notice it. We've narrowed it up a little bit to give us a bit more room in there. Wayne at UV Engineering's made us a new prop shaft. We've done a few other bits and pieces in here, just trying to make things a bit easier to work on, which obviously comes with time that you learn the package and what needs to happen between rounds. And we've got a fairly good idea now of what we need to do to keep this thing ticking, between rounds. And there's little things like just giving us a bit more room here, it's going to make a big difference come Adelaide. We'll be able to turn around in 20 minutes between rounds, provided we have no major issues. So if they do need to run us back to back to back, we can do it, which is, at the end of the day, it's a spectator sport. Without the spectators, you can't do it. The only way to keep the spectators happy is to have boats on the water. So we're trying to make it as quick as possible to turn around and do what we need to do.
I think it's going to be once we get a fine dial in, like it's only very early stages, but once we get it all right, it's definitely going to be a boat to be reckoned with. It showed some very good signs down at Yarrawonga for its first hit out a couple of weeks ago. So considering we've just stepped up into unlimited, I think it's definitely shaken a few feathers already come on the Sunday when we were down there. A lot of people had a lot of interest in the boat come Sunday when we started getting everything back together. But for its first hit out, we've done very well, so it's only going to get bigger and better. So
I think a lot of people expected us to fail, which is...
A lot of people didn't think we could do what we've done, but we spoke about this a year
how
ago.
this come about. I literally got off an airplane from the US over their tuna drag cars.
Yeah.
Drove from the airport to Taree when he had that 6-litre motor in his boat, for the NASCAR motor. Said we just freshened up and rebuilt it.
Yep.
This and it was like 2 mile an hour slower.
And dynos and let manifold in, let manifold.
Yeah, and it was like 2 mile an hour down what it was last time we were there.
Yeah.
It's like, let's put some turbos on it, I was like, so the original plan was to turbo the NASCAR motor. And then we pulled the cylinder heads off and went, this is not going to work. Like the open deck and everything. So I was like, we'll just put a big block in it.
And then I listened to Darwin, and here we are a year later. And
this is basically a package that we do in our street cars, and we make 2,500 to 3,000 horsepower with this package. So putting in a boat where it needs to make 14 to 15, 1,600 horsepower, the thing should just do it all day long.
And that was always a concept. Like a lot of people were going, you can't put a 3,000 horsepower motor in an 18-foot-6 boat. Well, you can, but what we've done, you've got to remember the computer that we run can control what power you deliver to the motor. So we're only probably running 1,500 horsepower now, an honest 1,500. We've always said from the start we won't use 3,000 because obviously the boat won't take that. But we've built a motor that can go into any boat. But this is all controlled and we can get as much power as we want or as little power as we want. So that's the beauty of having a computer to control the power. So just because we're at 3,000 horsepower doesn't mean we're going to use it. And like I said, we're probably at an honest 1,500 at the moment, because I've done a lot of talking to Quinny and to Scotty, because obviously this boat has gone from, I think originally it was the Decision, and then it went to Disturb the Peace, then it went to Quinny as Bad Influence, then it went to Scotty's Turn It Up, and then we bought it off Scotty. So the boat has been through a lot of hands, a lot of colours, and now it's green. So no offence, Scotty, but everyone.
It looks better green than yellow.
But if you have a look on the side down the bottom there, I've still got your name on there, Scotty. So it's still got Turn Up written on it. But I've got a bit superstitious, even though I'm green. But anyway, the idea of this colour, which you probably would have heard from down at Yarrawonga, wasn't actually my idea. It was my son's idea. He was playing a game on the phone and had a little cell. It's got a displacement boat. He played around with some colours and he goes, "Dad, look at this colour, it looks green and blue, it looks pretty cool." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's okay." And then obviously we sat down with the family and said, well, if we're going to overhaul the boat, we made it a bit stronger.
But it needs to be overhauled anyway, because
So
the Taree had a bit of a whoopsie.
Yeah, we hit a wave at Taree and a few little things happened, but nothing major. But we thought, well, this is the time to give it a bit of an overhaul. We've made the front a lot stronger, we made it a lot thicker in the glass, we strengthened the back, did the front. So it all got prepped anyway, and then I thought, well, if we're going to change colour, now's the time to do it. And then that's when my son Levi was like, "Oh, I like these colours," and I actually looked at it and said it was a pretty good concept. And then
I think everyone sort of went, "Yeah, wow," because you come around that turn of Milton, you can't see anything, and then all you see is this bright green boat. It was like, wow.
You definitely can't miss it, and no one thinks it's Turned Up, Scotty. So I've got my own name now. So it's good. It's just and again, it's just all that banter. Like, it's good to have that joke with everyone, and everyone sort of leans on everyone, gives everyone a bit of curry. But at the end of the day, we're all mates. We all help each other. We want to be out there and win fair and square, and then have a bit of bragging rights. But it's a good sport, and the boys that we race coming from 6 litre taught me a lot how to. Me personally, I think 6 litre was a very competitive class. Like, it's a very hard class to win and to master. Like, because every boat, to me, it's like 105 on steroids. You got all these 6 litre boats that are right on their edge with the motors. The boat itself, like, you're looking for every kilo and every bit of horsepower you can, because you're restricted on cubes. So to go from that to unlimited, I think it's taught me a lot. Same as karting, when I come from karting, it's taught you a lot as a driver, who you can race with, who you can't race, and how much room you got to leave for that person, how much room you got to leave for this person. And that's like we always do club days. The only rule I had for Dale when we first done this, he said, "Oh, we'll do this, do that." I'm like, "Oh, well, whatever." And then my wife was sitting there, she goes, "Oh, goodness gracious." And I'm like, "Well, I've got to sell the other motors before I can do this." And then he goes, "We'll do this, and this. I said, "Okay, no worries." And the only 2 rules I had for Dale was it's got to be reliable, because I love to do laps. I'm not one of these people that does 1 race meeting or 2 major race meetings a year. I'll go to as many big meetings as I can to try and help other clubs out, because I expect that for our club as well when they come back to us. But also, I'll do every club day at Upper Hawkesbury, because bum in seat, you know the boat, you know the motor, how it works, and then when you're out there on your own on a club day, you can do a 360, you can wash out wide, you can see what the boat does when you over push it, because you know there's no one on the outside of you. So then when I come to a race meeting, I know exactly where I can put this boat before I put someone else in danger, or because like the likes of Pugs and like all the guys in 6 litres, you can't really fault them. Like you can race gun to gun, or like
they're bang on every single one of them.
They're bang on. Like, I remember there was
one
race.
You've got a problem with that, because they don't have the horsepower. Nah. So everyone in 6 litre, the horsepower is like this, and the boats are all within sort of 4 or 5 mile an hour of each other. So you've got to drive them on the edge.
You have to, and that's the biggest difference I found with when I first drove this thing. Like, Dale's like, "You got no idea. You're gonna want to race that unlimited boat." I'm like,
because he wanted to make it so he could pull this motor out and put the 6 litre back in. I said, once you squeeze that throttle, you are never going to put the 6 litre back
in. Rubbish.
We squeezed the throttle and go, "Yeah, fuck the 6 litres for sale."
And then Dale actually put the 6 litre up for sale when we went to Yarrawonga. I didn't even know it was for sale, but it's for sale, because once you drove this thing, I'm just like, you can't describe when you put your foot down what the feeling is, and the amount of.
But even the guys with blowers on their boats, they don't. These things, the way they deliver horsepower is like your blower's got the instant snap. These things, you just keep squeezing. I'm a drag racer, so I have a big block share of maybe 4,000 horsepower. you just keep squeezing that throttle and they just keep pulling. Whereas you blow it, they sort of, and they just, they're a different world. They're awesome. And in a boat, and the way we can control the horsepower with the ECU is you can come out and turn at 4,000 RPM, you can put his foot to the floor, and the thing has 1,000 horsepower. But then you rev it to 7, and the thing's got 1,600 horsepower. You know, this will be, once we refine the package and we get it where we need it, it's going to open a lot of eyes, and there'll be a few people going, yeah, you know, I don't think they're blowers anymore.
No, and like when we went to Yarrawonga, that was honestly a big test and tune for us. That was our first race meeting. We went down there we weren't there to show stop anything. We weren't there to win anything. We were there just to see how the boat went. And the biggest,
just you to do laps.
Well, the biggest reason I wanted to go as a driver is there's certain people that will just go, oh, no, it's too rough, it's too this. It's not that rough. Like, we do get a lot of rough water in these sort of boats, but the way I've always learned is go-karting, probably before that with Dad, he always taught me as a kid to first learn something. If you dealt rubbish and you can master that, when you get good stuff, you're going to be a lot better. So the first time he taught me how to weld, it was with some old rusty pipe, and you weld it and it's like, and mind you, I was probably 13, and it's like, oh, this isn't working, and then you got the concept of that, and the first time I got my new bit of steel, I'm like, it's like welding butter. So I've put the same process into racing, like to get better as a driver, you got to go through the worst conditions. So even though Yarrawonga wasn't that rough this year, I don't think, but there's no reason why. You go to these meetings that teach you how to drive it better, how the boat handles in rough water, how it handles over waves, and how it handles against. And everyone was like, "Oh, you're crazy racing in hydro." To me, it's a race. If you race someone, it's another number. And to first win, you got to be in the race. And if you don't do them things, you don't push yourself as a driver. I can see how the boat handles. I can see what the boat's going to do. I know what the motor's going to do. I know, do I need more plate? Do I need more rudder? Do I need this and that? Like, you learn a lot more from going to them sort of races, and then when you go to the smoother stuff, it makes it easier.
Like in that final at Yarrawonga, he hit full throttle 3 times in the race. 2 was down the first straight and once was down the second straight.
Yep.
And he wasn't over 60% throttle for the rest of the race.
So yeah, it's got plan. I was speaking to Troy at the presentation at Yarrawonga, and he obviously did really well. He won the Griffith Cup and the Anzac Cup, so they'd done a really good thing, and they'd get that hydro thing going because it's been a while coming. They wanted to win. But the first thing he said to me, he goes, "How do you like the waves?" And I said, "Well, that's what you get. You want to race unlimited or even 6 letter. You want to play with the big boys. You got to get there and race them." So there's no point for me sitting on the sideline. So I wanted to see what the boat went like with rough water. I wasn't worried about how the boat was going to go. It was just more me as a driver, learning how to drive this over the rough water, how it's going to commit to a turn, how it's going to go down the back straight. And the biggest thing I wanted to learn was coming off the turns, through the turns, which we're still probably going pretty easy at the moment. I'm probably going quicker. I was probably going through the corners quicker in a 6 litre, but we're just learning that whole delivering the power so the boat's not out the water, it's not doing anything silly. And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of people actually come up and said to me, it actually looked better coming off the turn than it did when I was racing 6 litre, because obviously 6 litre again, you're all enough and you're trying to get everything out of the boat, so it comes out of the corner quicker, so you're jumping and leaping to try and get the revs up. Where this thing, you just come out the corner and just go, okay, there's a pin, I'm straight, and just hit it and go, hang on. And then it's just fast and furious. It's a different experience. I can't explain it. So then, hence why I'm like, 6 litre can go. So
he didn't believe me when I said that. And then the first time he squeezed the throttle, he was like,
it's got some mum going and it's quick, but everything feels good. Nothing went silly. Coming back from Yarrawonga, we did all the pre-checks, the post-checks and everything. A few little things here and there, but that was a given. That's no reason why we went to Yarrawonga to see what would go wrong. But
plenty of bolts came loose.
But all in all, it was pretty good. Like little things like Dale said, we changed the fuel tank. That was probably the biggest thing we've done, because we thought we were going to use a lot more fuel than what we actually did, but it's not far off my 6 litre, so it's very good on fuel. So, which is a good thing, because there's less fuel I have to get. But so we've changed that to give us a lot more room at the back there, so we can get access to the back of the motor, because that was one of our issues. Everything here was
it's very tight.
This section here used to come straight up, so all these sensors were very close to these points here. So that was one of the issues when we were running the races. This sensor actually hit the pipe because the tank come a little bit loose, So that actual sensor got snapped due to the vibration, and it was a bit rough in the water, and that's why we stopped in one of the unlimited races. But Nathan, we fixed it at the next race, so sensors aren't too bad. But yeah, it's little things like that we just got to finesse. But considering the first time we took it out, I think we've got a pretty good package, and I think in all honesty, I think we're pretty bang on to be where we are, and the speed that we've got so far. And like Dale said, there's plenty more left in the motor, but we're just taking it nice and easy to make sure I'm comfortable, the boat's comfortable, the motor's comfortable, and nothing too stupid. So everyone that's thinking, we can't do this because it's got too much power, just remember we don't have 3,000 horsepower actually at the prop. We've probably got about 1,500, because I know Quinny, Scotty, I've been speaking to them before we did all this, and Quinny said he had around that sort of power with all this gear with this boat. So I know the boat's done that, but once we start pushing that boundary, then we'll start looking, okay, what else do we need to do to make sure the boat's safe? But I know the boat's done this, so we haven't done anything at the moment that the boat hasn't already done. So no one needs to worry that we're doing anything too extreme, and we've got a 3,000 horsepower and an 18'6" boat. We do, but we're not actually using it. So.
And it will actually make 3,000 if we stick on the engine. I don't want it up. It'll make every bit of 3,000.
But it ain't going. I'll tell you a little thing. The first day we took it out for a test and tune, I think it was we put a post up, which I think was the third or fourth squirt that we went out and we did 138. And I said to Dale, that felt fast, and I was actually quite upset because the GPS said 128. But I didn't have it set right, so I'm like, there's no way that's 120. Because if that's 120, I'm in trouble as a driver, because it was freaking fast. But then we found out I had it set on the wrong setting, so then that's why it was only reading 120. It was actually 138. And then we actually went down to Yarrawonga on the first day, and there was a couple of teething issues. I had one of the probes set too low, so it was saying the pop was too hot. So as a safety, you drop the cylinder out to save the motor. And we're actually only running on 6 cylinders as a safety, and we found that out, and then Dale sorted it out. But I was actually going to the corner going, I need more power, and I was actually winding up the boost gauge, and we're doing 130. And Dale goes, you're doing 130? I said, well, it felt slow, and that's when I worked out that my GPS was set wrong. But back to when we first tested it, we'd done that 138 mile an hour pass, and then I think Dale just wanted to give me some shits and giggles, and he put a bit more power in it, went out and drove it and went, yeah, no, that's too much. And I think he said it was about 2,000 horsepower. So I know what 2,000's felt like, and I can assure you now it won't go back into this boat.
Oh, you want to bet? I bet it ends up with that much in it.
Okay, we'll see. It ain't going to happen next weekend, but yeah, just slow and steady. We'll just keep winding up bit by bit once the boat's happy.
Yeah, once he's comfortable in the boat driving it, then we'll just slowly ease the power into it, and I think you'll end up with at least 1,800 in it. I reckon it'll be a fair number.
It might do, like, everything's feeling well. So at the moment, it's not the boat, it's not the motor. Obviously, it's just me as a driver to learn how to drive this new package. So I can't fault the gear. It's just me learning it slowly and surely. So then obviously you don't do anything stupid, don't hurt obviously myself, any other driver, and just bit by bit. But it's going good.